The sun was setting as Tiana Johnson walked through her new neighborhood. She had just moved to this small town to start her first year at Westlake University. It was different from the busy city where she grew up. Here, the streets were quiet, and everyone seemed to know each other. Tiana felt tired after a long day of classes. As a scholarship student, she had to work extra hard. Her backpack was heavy with books, and all she wanted was to get home and rest. She checked her phone. Her mom had sent a text asking how her day went. Tiana smiled but didn't reply yet. She would call her mom later. The street lights came on as Tiana turned onto Maple Avenue. Most houses had their lights on, and she could see families eating dinner through the windows. Tiana felt a little lonely. She lived alone in a small apartment that the school helped her find. It wasn't much, but it was all she could afford. As she passed the blue house with the white fence, she heard it. A dog started barking loudly. Tiana looked up and saw a big German shepherd standing in the yard. The dog was pulling on its chain, barking wildly at her. Its teeth were showing, and its eyes seemed fixed on her. "Hey, quiet down, Rex," a man's voice called from inside the house, but the dog kept barking. Tiana walked faster. She had never liked dogs much. They made her nervous. But this dog seemed different. It wasn't just barking. It seemed angry at her. She didn't understand why. She had never seen this dog before. The front door of the blue house opened, and an older man with gray hair stepped out. "Sorry about that," he called to Tiana. "Rex doesn't usually bark at people walking by." Tiana nodded and tried to smile. "It's okay," she said, even though she felt uneasy. The man walked to the edge of his yard. Rex was still barking and jumping. The man looked at Tiana with a strange expression. "Have you been around here before?" he asked. "No, sir. I just moved here for school," Tiana answered. She wanted to keep walking, but something about the man's face made her stop. The man frowned. "That's odd. Rex seems to know you." He looked at his dog, then back at Tiana. "He's a rescue dog. Used to work with the police before he retired." Tiana shifted her backpack to her other shoulder. "I've never met him before," she said. A car drove by, its headlights briefly lighting up the street. "Well, he sure thinks he knows something about you," the man said. His voice wasn't friendly anymore. He was looking at Tiana's clothes, her bag, her hands. Tiana felt her heart beating faster. She didn't like the way the man was looking at her. "I should get going," she said. "It's getting late." As she turned to leave, the dog's barking grew even louder. The man called after her, "What's your name and where do you live?" Tiana didn't answer. She just walked faster, almost running now. Behind her, she heard the man on his phone. "Hello, police. There's a suspicious person on Maple Avenue." Tiana was scared now. Why was the dog so upset? Why was the man calling the police? She hadn't done anything wrong. She was just walking home from school. As she hurried down the street, she felt something warm running down her side. She put her hand under her jacket and felt something wet. When she looked at her hand in the streetlight, she saw it was covered in blood. Now she remembered. The accident. The secret she was hiding. And somehow, the dog knew. Tiana ran until she reached her small apartment. Her hands shook as she unlocked the door. Inside, she leaned against the wall, breathing hard. The blood had soaked through her shirt now. She lifted it carefully to look at her wound. 3 days ago, she had been in a car crash. Her old car had hit a tree when she swerved to avoid a deer. The metal from the door had cut her side badly. She should have gone to the hospital, but she had no health insurance. A hospital bill would ruin her. Instead, she had cleaned the wound herself and put on bandages. "It will heal," she had told herself. But now the cut was red and hot. It hurt more than before. Tiana went to her bathroom and took off the old bandages. The cut looked worse. She washed it with soap and water, then put on new bandages. Her first aid kit was almost empty now. She heard sirens outside. Looking through her window, she saw a police car driving slowly down the street. Were they looking for her? What would she say if they found her? Her phone rang, making her jump. It was her mother calling. "Hi, Mom," Tiana said, trying to sound normal. "How's my college girl?" her mother asked. "Are your classes good? Are you eating enough?" Tiana closed her eyes. She wanted to tell her mother everything. About the car crash, about the wound that wouldn't heal, about the dog that somehow knew her secret. But her mother had worked so hard to help Tiana get to college. She couldn't worry her now. "Everything's fine, Mom," Tiana lied. "Classes are good. I'm making friends." After the call ended, Tiana sat on her bed. She felt hot all over. Maybe she had a fever. She took some pain pills and drank water. She needed to rest, but every time she closed her eyes, she saw the dog barking at her. She saw the man's suspicious face. A knock on her door made her heart stop. She didn't move, hoping whoever it was would go away. "Police, please open the door," a deep voice called. Tiana panicked. How did they find her? What should she do? She couldn't run away. Slowly, she went to the door and opened it. 2 police officers stood there. One was a tall man with a serious face. The other was a woman with kind eyes. "Are you Tiana Johnson?" the male officer asked. Tiana nodded, not trusting her voice. "We got a call about a suspicious person on Maple Avenue," he said. "Can we come in and ask you some questions?" Tiana stepped back to let them in. Her apartment was small and clean. She had few belongings, just her clothes, school books, and some pictures of her family. "Why was Rex barking at you?" the male officer asked. "Rex?" Tiana was confused. "The German Shepherd. His owner says he used to be a police dog trained to detect drugs and blood." The female officer was watching Tiana closely. "Are you feeling okay? You look pale." Tiana tried to stand straight, but a wave of dizziness hit her. The room seemed to spin. She put her hand on the wall to steady herself. "I'm fine," she said, but even as the words left her mouth, she felt her legs give way. The female officer moved quickly to catch her before she hit the floor. "She's burning up with fever," the officer said to her partner. Then she noticed the blood seeping through Tiana's shirt. "She's injured. Call an ambulance." As Tiana drifted in and out of consciousness, she heard the officers talking. Words like infection and sepsis floated around her. Strong arms lifted her onto a stretcher. Lights flashed red and blue through her closed eyelids. The last thing she remembered was the female officer holding her hand and saying, "Hang on, Tiana. Help is coming." But Tiana wondered if help was coming too late. Tiana woke up to the sound of beeping machines. The room was bright and smelled clean. She was in a hospital bed with tubes in her arm. For a moment, she felt confused. Then she remembered. The dog barking, the police at her door, the fever. Officer Sarah Miller sat in a chair next to the bed. She was the female officer who had caught Tiana when she fell. When she saw Tiana was awake, she smiled. "Welcome back," Officer Miller said. "You gave us quite a scare." Tiana tried to sit up, but pain shot through her side. "How long have I been here?" she asked. Her voice was dry and rough. 3 days, Officer Miller answered. "The infection from your wound was very bad. The doctors said if you had waited 1 more day, you might have died." Tiana looked at the white ceiling. 3 days in the hospital. She couldn't imagine how much this would cost. All her hard work to get into college, and now medical bills would ruin everything. "We called your mother," Officer Miller said. "She's on her way. She should be here tomorrow." Tears filled Tiana's eyes. She didn't want her mother to worry or to spend money on a plane ticket. "I'm sorry," Tiana whispered, though she wasn't sure who she was saying sorry to. The door opened and a doctor came in. She checked Tiana's chart and nodded. "The antibiotics are working. Your fever is down, and the wound is looking better. But you need to rest and heal." After the doctor left, Officer Miller leaned forward. "Can you tell me what happened? How did you get hurt?" Tiana told her about the car crash, about hitting the tree, about the metal cutting her side. She explained how she was afraid to go to the hospital because she had no insurance. "Why didn't you call for help after the crash?" Officer Miller asked. Tiana looked away. "My car is old. I don't have good insurance for it. If they found out I crashed it, my rates would go up. I can't afford that." She paused. "And I was driving late because I was coming home from my second job. If the school found out I'm working 2 jobs, they might take away my scholarship." Officer Miller shook her head. "Tiana, no scholarship is worth your life." Later that day, a man walked into Tiana's room. It was the owner of Rex, the dog that had barked at her. Behind him, to Tiana's surprise, was Rex himself, wearing a service dog vest. "I'm Jim Hansen," the man said. "I wanted to check on you." And Rex insisted on coming. He looked different now, not angry or suspicious. He looked worried. "Rex is a retired police dog," Jim explained. "He was trained to detect blood and injuries. That's why he barked at you. He knew you were hurt." Jim put his hand on Rex's head. "He wasn't threatening you. He was trying to alert me that you needed help." Rex walked to Tiana's bedside and sat down. His eyes were gentle now. He nudged her hand with his nose. "He wants you to pet him," Jim said. "It's his way of saying sorry for scaring you." Tiana slowly reached out her hand. She had always been afraid of dogs, especially big ones like Rex. But as she touched his soft fur, she felt something change inside her. This dog had saved her life. "Thank you, Rex," she whispered. That evening, as Tiana was watching TV in her hospital room, there was a knock at the door. A woman in a university blazer walked in. "Ms. Johnson, I'm Dean Richards from Westlake University," she said. "We heard about what happened. I came to tell you that we're going to help." Tiana felt her stomach tighten. Would they take away her scholarship now? But the dean smiled. "The university has a special fund for student emergencies. We're going to cover your hospital bills." Tiana couldn't believe what she was hearing. "But why?" she asked. The dean sat down beside her bed. "Because we want our students to succeed, and because we should have made it clear that your health always comes first, no matter what." For the first time in days, Tiana felt hope. Maybe everything would be okay after all. The next morning, Tiana heard a familiar voice. Her mother, Evelyn Johnson, rushed into the hospital room with tears in her eyes. "My baby," she cried, hugging Tiana carefully to avoid her bandages. "Why didn't you tell me you were hurt?" Tiana felt tears roll down her cheeks. "I didn't want you to worry, Mom. You already work so hard." Evelyn touched her daughter's face. "Nothing is more important than you. Not money, not school, nothing." Officer Miller came in while they were talking. She introduced herself to Evelyn and explained how Rex, the dog, had helped save Tiana's life. "That dog knew something was wrong when no one else did," Officer Miller said. "Animals can sense things we can't." Later that day, the doctor told Tiana she could go home in 2 days if her recovery continued well. But Tiana worried about where home would be. Her small apartment seemed far away and lonely now. "You're coming to stay with me at the hotel until you're stronger," her mother said, reading her thoughts. No arguments. As Tiana was packing her few belongings from the hospital room, Jim Hansen appeared at the door. Rex was with him again, wagging his tail when he saw Tiana. "I have a proposition for you," Jim said. "Rex needs a new home." Tiana looked confused. "But he's your dog." Jim shook his head. "I was just fostering him until a permanent home could be found. I work with the K-9 Retired Officers Program. Rex retired from police work last year, and he needs someone to take care of him." Tiana's eyes widened. "You want me to take Rex?" "He chose you," Jim said simply, "and he has special training that could help you. He can sense when someone is hurt or in danger. He could be your service dog." Tiana looked at Rex. The dog that had scared her so much just days ago now seemed like a guardian angel. But she shook her head. "I can't afford a dog. My apartment doesn't allow pets, and I don't know how to take care of a dog. The program covers all expenses, Jim explained. Food, vet bills, everything. And I'd already spoken to your university. They have housing that allows service animals. Tiana was speechless. She looked at her mother for help. Evelyn smiled. I think it's a wonderful idea. You wouldn't be alone anymore. You'd have protection. That afternoon, Dean Richards visited again. She brought news that surprised Tiana even more. We found you a job on campus, the dean said. 20 hours a week in the library. It pays better than your current jobs, and it won't affect your scholarship. Tiana felt overwhelmed by all the kindness. Why is everyone helping me? She asked. The dean sat down. Because community is what makes us human. We look out for each other. She paused. And because others have been in your situation before. The dean rolled up her sleeve to reveal a long scar on her arm. 20 years ago, I was a scholarship student too. I fell and cut my arm on broken glass. Like you, I was afraid to get help because of the cost. I almost lost my arm to infection. Tiana had never imagined that the dean, who seemed so confident and successful, had once struggled like her. Since then, the dean continued, I've worked to make sure no student has to choose between their health and their education. But we can only help if we know there's a problem. As the dean was leaving, Officer Miller arrived with Rex. The dog had a new service vest that said, Medical Alert Dog on it. Ready for some training? Officer Miller asked with a smile. Rex wants to show you what he can do. For the first time in days, Tiana laughed. As she petted Rex's soft fur, she realized that sometimes the things we fear most turn out to be the things that save us. Outside her window, the sun was setting over the campus. Tiana knew her journey was just beginning, but now she wouldn't be walking it alone. 2 weeks later, Tiana moved into her new housing on campus. It was a small one-bedroom apartment in a building for students with special needs. The best part was that Rex could live with her. The university had arranged for her car to be fixed, though Tiana was still nervous about driving again. For now, she was happy to walk to her classes with Rex by her side. The big German shepherd wore his service vest proudly, and people smiled when they saw them together. On her first day back at classes, Tiana was nervous. She worried that people would stare or ask questions about her absence. Rex seemed to sense her fear. He stayed close, his warm body pressing against her leg as they walked across the campus. Professor Martinez, her psychology teacher, welcomed her back with a kind smile. We missed you, Tiana, he said. If you need extra time for the assignments, just let me know. After class, a girl named Mai approached her. Is that a service dog? She asked, looking at Rex with interest. Tiana nodded. This is Rex. He's a medical alert dog. Mai's eyes lit up. That's amazing. I'm studying to be a vet. She knelt down to Rex's level but didn't touch him. You're a hero, aren't you, buddy? Tiana felt herself smiling. Maybe making friends here would be easier than she thought. That evening, Officer Miller visited Tiana's new apartment. She brought pizza and they sat on the small balcony, watching the sunset. Rex lay at Tiana's feet, content. How are you settling in? Officer Miller asked. It's still strange, Tiana admitted. All these changes happened so fast. Sometimes I wake up and can't believe this is my life now. Officer Miller nodded. Big changes take time to get used to, but you're doing great. Tiana thought about how different things were now. She had a safe place to live, a job that didn't exhaust her, and Rex to keep her company. People knew her name and greeted her on campus. Her mother called every day, no longer worried sick about her. I've been thinking, Tiana said slowly. I want to help other students who might be in trouble like I was. Maybe start a program, or something. Officer Miller smiled. That's a wonderful idea. You know what it's like to be afraid to ask for help. You could make a real difference. The next day, Tiana met with Dean Richards to discuss her idea. The dean listened carefully, taking notes. "We could call it the Rex program," Tiana suggested. "For students who need help but are afraid to ask. We could have a website where they can send messages anonymously." Dean Richards looked thoughtful. "We would need student volunteers. People who could check on others if we get a message about someone in trouble." "I'll volunteer," Tiana said immediately. "And I bet Mai from my psychology class would help too. She loves animals and wants to help people." They decided to start small, with just a few trusted students and staff. The program would focus on health emergencies at first, then expand to other needs like food, housing, and mental health. That weekend, Jim Hansen invited Tiana to bring Rex to the Canine Training Center. Other retired police dogs were there with their new owners. Tiana watched as Rex ran through an obstacle course, his tail wagging. "He's happy with you," Jim said. "He found his purpose again." Tiana thought about how Rex had barked at her that night on Maple Avenue. At the time, she was terrified. Now she understood he was trying to help her in the only way he knew how. "He saved my life," Tiana said, "but he also helped me find a community." As if he understood her words, Rex trotted back to Tiana and sat at her feet, looking up with those intelligent eyes. Tiana knelt and hugged him, burying her face in his fur. Once, she had been alone, hiding her pain, afraid to reach out. Now she was surrounded by people who cared about her. And it all started with a dog barking in the night. "Good boy, Rex," she whispered. "The best boy." 1 month after starting the Rex program, Tiana sat in the Student Center with May and 3 other volunteers. They were making posters and setting up a website. Rex lay under the table, watching people walk by. "We've already helped 5 students," May said, checking their list. "That student with diabetes who ran out of insulin, the girl who hurt her ankle in the dorm but was afraid to call an ambulance, and those 3 roommates who had no food after their money ran out." Tiana nodded. The program was working better than she had hoped. Students were learning that they could ask for help without shame. The school newspaper had written a story about the Rex program, showing a picture of Tiana and Rex together. Professor Martinez walked over to their table. "I heard what you're doing here," he said. "I'd like to donate to your program." He handed Tiana an envelope. "It's not much, but maybe it will help someone." Tiana thanked him. More and more people were offering to help. Some gave money, others volunteered their time, and local businesses donated food and supplies. The little program that started with one dog barking at one student was growing into something bigger. Later that day, Tiana walked to her library job. Rex padded beside her, alert as always. As they passed the campus coffee shop, Tiana saw a young man sitting alone. He looked sad and tired. His clothes were wrinkled, and his eyes had dark circles under them. Rex stopped walking. His ears perked up, and he turned toward the young man. "What is it, boy?" Tiana asked softly. Rex looked at her, then back at the young man. Tiana remembered how Rex had sensed her own trouble that night on Maple Avenue. Was he sensing something wrong with this student too? Taking a deep breath, Tiana approached the table. "Excuse me," she said. "This might sound strange, but is everything okay? My dog seems concerned about you." The young man looked up in surprise. "Your dog is concerned about me?" Rex was a police dog, Tiana explained. He can sense when something is wrong. She introduced herself and told him about the Rex program. The young man's name was Marcus. He was new to the school, studying engineering. "I'm fine," he said, but his voice was flat, and his hand shook slightly as he held his coffee cup. "When was the last time you ate a real meal?" Tiana asked gently. Marcus looked down. "A few days ago, maybe. My scholarship money is late, and my roommate took all the food we had." Tiana sat down across from him. "The Rex program can help with that. No questions asked, no forms to fill out. Just help when you need it." For a moment, Marcus said nothing. Then he whispered, "I don't know how to ask for help. I never have." Tiana smiled. You don't have to ask. Rex already did it for you. That evening, after making sure Marcus had a good meal and information about emergency food services, Tiana met with Officer Miller for their weekly coffee. The program helped another student today, Tiana told her. Rex found him. Officer Miller smiled. That dog has a special gift. And so do you, Tiana. Me? I don't have any special gifts. Yes, you do, Officer Miller said. You know what it's like to be afraid and alone. That helps you connect with others who feel the same way. You turned your pain into something good. Tiana thought about how much her life had changed. Her grades were better. She had friends. Her mother wasn't worried all the time. And she was making a difference on campus. All because a dog barked at her one night. The next day, Dean Richards called Tiana to her office. I have news, she said. The university board has approved funding for the Rex program. It will become an official part of student services next semester with a budget and office space. Tiana couldn't believe it. Really? The dean nodded. They were very impressed with what you've done. And there's something else. She pushed a folder across the desk. We want to offer you a job as the program coordinator after you graduate. Tiana opened the folder with shaking hands. Inside was a job offer with a good salary and benefits, including health insurance. We need people like you, Tiana, the dean said. People who understand what it's like to struggle and can help others find their way. That night, Tiana sat on her small balcony with Rex beside her. The stars were bright in the clear sky. She thought about how close she had come to losing everything. Her health, her education, her future. All because she was afraid to ask for help. Now she had a purpose. A community. A way to make sure no other student felt as alone as she once did. Rex put his head on her lap, his warm eyes looking up at her. We make a good team, don't we? Tiana said, scratching behind his ears. Rex wagged his tail as if to say yes. 6 months had passed since that night on Maple Avenue. The Rex program now had its own small office in the Student Services building. Pictures of Rex hung on the wall, along with thank you notes from students who had received help. Tiana sat at her desk, finishing some paperwork. Rex lay at her feet, his gray muzzle showing his age. At 7 years old, he was slowing down a little, but his eyes were still sharp and alert. A knock on the door made Tiana look up. Marcus stood there with a shy smile. He had changed much in 6 months. His clothes were clean, his face was fuller, and he looked healthy. After getting help from the Rex program, he had become one of their most dedicated volunteers. The food donations from the grocery store are here, Marcus said. We got twice as much as last month. Tiana smiled. That's great. We can fill the emergency pantry and still have extra for the weekend food bags. The Rex program had grown beyond just health emergencies. Now they also helped with food, housing, mental health support, and even textbooks. Students who had been helped often came back to volunteer, creating a circle of giving that spread across campus. As they sorted food in the storage room, Tiana's phone rang. It was Officer Miller. Are you watching the news? Officer Miller asked, her voice excited. No. What's happening? Tiana asked. The state legislature just passed the Student Safety Net Act. It was inspired by the Rex program. Turn on the TV. Tiana and Marcus rushed to the small TV in the corner of the office. On the screen, the governor was signing a new law. The law would create programs like the Rex program at every state college and university. This program will ensure that no student has to choose between their health and their education, the governor said. We're calling it the Rex Initiative, after the remarkable dog who showed us that sometimes help comes from unexpected places. The camera panned to show a group of people standing behind the governor. Tiana gasped when she saw Dean Richards there, smiling proudly. That evening, there was a small celebration in Tiana's apartment. Officer Miller, now promoted to sergeant, brought pizza. Jim Hansen came with his new foster dog, a young Labrador named Star. May brought a cake with Rex's picture on it. Marcus set up balloons. Even Tiana's mother drove in from out of town to join them. "I can't believe our little program is now going to be everywhere in the state," Tiana said, still amazed. "It's not so surprising," Sergeant Miller said. "You showed what's possible when we look out for each other." Dean Richards raised her glass of juice in a toast. To Rex, who knew exactly what to do when he saw someone in trouble, and to Tiana, who turned a scary moment into something that will help thousands of students. Everyone cheered. Rex, who was enjoying a special treat of chicken, wagged his tail at the sound of his name. Later, when everyone had gone, Tiana sat on her balcony with Rex and her mother. The night was cool and clear, with stars filling the sky. "I'm so proud of you," her mother said, taking Tiana's hand. "You've become such a strong young woman." Tiana smiled. "I couldn't have done it without all of you, especially Rex." She patted the dog's head lovingly. "When I think about that night," Tiana continued, "when I was walking home alone, hurt and scared, I still can't believe how everything changed because a dog barked at me." Her mother nodded. "Life is strange that way. Sometimes the things that scare us most lead us to where we need to be." Rex put his head on Tiana's lap and closed his eyes contentedly. He had done his job well. He had found someone who needed help, alerted others to the danger, and stayed by her side as she healed. Now he had a forever home with a person who loved him, and his legacy would continue to help others long after he was gone. "Good boy, Rex," Tiana whispered, as she did every night. "The very best boy." As she looked out at the stars, Tiana thought about how close she had come to giving up that night, how afraid she had been to ask for help, how she had believed she had to face everything alone. Now she knew better. Now she understood that true strength wasn't about handling everything by yourself. It was about having the courage to reach out when you needed help, and the compassion to offer help when others needed it. And sometimes, help came with 4 paws, a wagging tail, and a bark that wouldn't be ignored. 2 years passed quickly. Tiana stood in her graduation gown, holding her diploma. She had finished college with honors in psychology. Rex sat beside her, gray now around his muzzle and eyes, but still proud and alert in his service vest. "Smile." Tiana's mother called, taking another picture. Evelyn Johnson wore her best dress and couldn't stop crying happy tears. Next to her stood Jim Hansen, Sergeant Miller, Dean Richards, May, and Marcus. "I can't believe we're all finally done," May said, adjusting her graduation cap. She had finished her veterinary studies and would start work at an animal hospital next month. Marcus had 1 more year to complete his engineering degree, but he had come to celebrate with them. After the ceremony, they gathered at Tiana's apartment for a small party. The walls were covered with pictures showing the growth of the Rex program over the past 2 years. There were newspaper clippings, thank you cards, and photos of Rex with many students he had helped. "Have you decided which job offer you're taking?" Sergeant Miller asked as she handed Tiana a plate of cake. Tiana nodded. "I'm staying here to run the Rex program full-time. The university created a special position for me." She smiled at Dean Richards. "And I'll be taking night classes for my master's degree in counseling." "The perfect choice," Jim said, though that offer from the state education department was impressive too. Tiana had received several job offers. The story of the Rex program had spread far beyond their small town. Other colleges wanted her to start similar programs. Government agencies wanted her expertise, but Tiana couldn't imagine leaving the place where everything had started. As the party continued, Tiana noticed Rex was not in the living room. She found him in her bedroom, lying on his bed. He looked tired. "You okay, boy?" she asked, sitting beside him. Rex thumped his tail but didn't get up. Lately, he had been slowing down. The vet said it was normal for a dog his age, but Tiana worried. May came in and knelt beside Rex. With gentle hands, she checked his breathing and felt his legs. "He's just tired from all the excitement," May assured her. "He's an old police officer now. He needs his rest." Tiana nodded, but a sadness touched her heart. Rex had been by her side through everything. The thought of someday being without him was too painful to consider. The next morning, Tiana started her new job officially. She had a small office in the Student Services building with Rex program director on the door. Rex had his own bed in the corner and a water bowl with his name. By lunchtime, 3 students had already come for help. One needed emergency dental care. Another had lost her apartment and needed housing. The third was simply hungry and hadn't eaten in 2 days. The summer is always busy, Marcus explained as he helped Tiana organize food packages. When the dorms close, some students have nowhere to go. As they worked, Dean Richards came in with a surprise visitor. It was the governor, the same one who had signed the Rex initiative into law. "I wanted to see this program in action," the governor said, shaking Tiana's hand. "And to meet the famous Rex, of course." Rex, always dignified, sat up straight and offered his paw to the governor, who looked delighted. "We've now established Rex programs at 22 colleges across the state," the governor told Tiana. "Over 5,000 students have received help so far. And it all started because of you and this remarkable dog." After the important visitors left, Tiana took Rex for a slow walk across the campus. Students and professors greeted them warmly. Many stopped to pet Rex and thanked Tiana for her work. "Remember when people used to avoid us?" Tiana asked Rex as they sat under a tree. "Now everyone wants to say hello." Rex laid his head on her lap, his brown eyes watching her face. In those eyes, Tiana still saw the brave police dog who had known she needed help when no one else did. The dog who had changed not just her life, but the lives of thousands of students. "We did good, didn't we?" she whispered, stroking his soft fur. As the sun set over the campus, Tiana thought about her journey. From a scared, lonely student hiding her pain to a college graduate making a difference in the world. It hadn't been an easy path. There had been pain, fear, and hard choices. But there had also been kindness, community, and second chances. And it had all started with a dog who wouldn't stop barking. Rex sighed contentedly as Tiana scratched behind his ears. They were exactly where they were meant to be. 5 years had passed since that night on Maple Avenue. The Rex program had grown beyond anything Tiana could have imagined. What started with one dog barking at one student had become a nationwide movement. Over 100 colleges now had Rex programs, helping thousands of students every year. On a beautiful spring morning, Tiana stood before a large crowd on the campus lawn. Behind her was a new building with a sign that read Rex Student Emergency Center. It would house the expanded program, with rooms for temporary student housing, a full food pantry, medical services, and counseling offices. "Today, we open a new chapter," Tiana said into the microphone. At 30 years old, she was now Dr. Tiana Johnson, with a PhD in psychology and student services. "This building represents our promise that no student will ever have to face a crisis alone." In the front row sat all the people who had been part of her journey. Her mother, now retired and living nearby. Sergeant Miller, who had become the campus police chief. Dean Richards, whose support had made everything possible. Jim Hansen, gray-haired but still training service dogs. May, now a successful veterinarian who provided free care to students' pets. And Marcus, who had graduated with his engineering degree and designed the new building. Also in the front row was a special chair draped with a blue blanket. On it lay Rex's service vest and collar. The faithful German Shepherd had passed away peacefully 2 years ago, at the age of 12. He had lived a full life, helping countless students and always by Tiana's side. Rex taught us that sometimes help comes in unexpected forms. Tiana continued, her voice strong despite the emotions she felt. He showed us that we all have the ability to sense when others are in trouble if we just pay attention. After the ceremony, a young woman approached Tiana. She had a small dog with her, a mixed breed with intelligent eyes and perky ears. "Dr. Johnson, I'm Kim," the young woman said shyly. "Your program helped me last year when I got sick and couldn't pay for medicine." Tiana smiled. She remembered Kim, a nursing student who had caught pneumonia and had no insurance. "I wanted you to meet Hope," Kim said, indicating the dog beside her. "She's a rescue. The shelter was going to put her down because no one wanted her. But I remembered your story about Rex, so I adopted her." Tiana knelt to pet the little dog, who wagged her tail happily. "Last week, Hope started barking at my neighbor's door and wouldn't stop," Kim continued. "I remembered what you said about Rex, so I called the building manager. They found my neighbor unconscious from a gas leak. The doctor said if Hope hadn't alerted us, he would have died." Tears filled Tiana's eyes. Rex's legacy was living on in ways she never expected. That evening, Tiana walked across the quiet campus alone. The stars were bright overhead, just like they had been that night when Rex had barked at her. She stopped at a small garden near the student center. In the center stood a bronze statue of a German shepherd, alert and watchful. The plaque read, "Rex, who taught us to listen?" Tiana sat on a bench beside the statue. She came here often to think and remember. Sometimes she could almost feel Rex beside her, his warm presence a comfort in hard times. "We did good, boy," she whispered, touching the cool bronze paw. "Really good." From her purse, she took out a letter that had arrived that morning. It was from the National Education Association, informing her that the Rex program had been selected for their highest honor. Next month, she would travel to Washington, D.C. to accept the award and speak before education leaders from across the country. The program that had started because a dog barked at her would now help shape national policy on student welfare. Tiana could hardly believe it. As she sat in the quiet garden, Tiana thought about all the students who had been helped, the lives saved, the graduations that might never have happened, the careers that might never have started. All because a dog noticed what humans had missed. She thought about her own journey from a scared, injured student to the person she was now, about how close she had come to giving up, about how one moment had changed everything. A sound made her look up. A young man was walking quickly across the campus, head down, shoulders hunched. He seemed to be in pain. Without hesitation, Tiana stood up. "Excuse me," she called. "Are you okay? Do you need help?" The young man stopped, surprised. "I'm fine," he said automatically, the same words Tiana had said all those years ago. But Tiana recognized the signs now. The pallor of his skin, the way he held his arm close to his body, the fear in his eyes.